What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Solutions Podcast. I am your host, Ramsey, and on this episode, we got our very first interview, right? Give it up for Eddie Vargas. What's going on?
Not much, brother. I hope everybody that's listening enjoys this. It's my very first time, like my brother says here. A little bit nervous, I ain't gonna lie. But hope everybody that's listening is doing well. Not much, man. You know, it's good to see you again.
So, for people to understand the kind of the background, right? I have not met this individual until we got here, right? We both got called to perform work together. Let's just say, keep it like that, right? We did not meet each other until we saw each other and ended up clicking, and we've been having a lot of good conversations. So I wanted to bring it out to the table. Okay, so one of the things, it just started off to keep it entertaining, right? 22 years of marriage. 22 years of marriage.
Yeah.
What is some of the things that you would give people, especially us young people, right? We had the debate this morning about the boomers and the millennials, right? So it seems like as young people we don't like to be stuck anymore, right? But what are some things that you would say are benefits to keeping it, or would you tell people some things that we hear, which is just like, hey, just run away, don't do it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, I think I learned a lot from my parents' marriage, right? They were married 55 years. Oh. And unfortunately, I lost my father last year. So, you know, if he would have been here with us, of course, they would have stayed married till the end. But anyway, I think I take a lot away from their marriage because, and I apply it to my marriage. Us as Hispanics, you know, coming from Mexican family, we don't believe in divorces. You know, whether you're happy or not, you just have to navigate through good and bad times, you know, just like a lot of the youngsters try to do. But, you know, I think what affects the society nowadays is the social media. That platform, it has opened up a lot of, like the Pandora door, right? There's too many fish in the sea, like they say, right? So nobody really wants to put the time and effort in their marriages no more. You know, whether you're happy or not, ultimately, I mean, your wife or yourself, I mean, if you're just not feeling it for whatever reason, and if you feel like you tried the different avenues, and it's just not what it used to be for whatever reason, it's better to, come clean and ultimately the ultimate goal is for both of you to be happy, right? And try to keep it as civil as possible, especially if you have kids, you know, because the kids, it's no fault to them. They shouldn't be involved in any of your drama. They should keep it at the minimum, you know, and that's my advice that I would give the younger generation, right? Try your hardest because, you know, just try to remember that you married that person for a reason and you saw something special in that person, right? You just don't marry somebody to marry them. So just continue, fighting your battles. And if ultimately you guys end up separating, you know, it would be unfortunate, especially if there's kids, but ultimately it's, everybody deserves to be happy, you know?
So what would you say to all the poor dudes that, like, they don't want to get married because divorce hurts them the most? But you did tell me a story about the one guy that won, right?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance, right? It's a gamble. So I'll tell this story again. So one of my neighbors, he'd been married with his wife for I'd say 14 years. Okay. And then this just recently got divorced early this year, and they have 3 kids. Unfortunately, my buddy, my neighbor, he got injured at work, so he was out of work for a year, and so, you know, the wife started nagging, and I think me prior to moving in there, I think they already had their little issues and stuff, but they always try to work through them, and obviously, unfortunately, it didn't work out. But at the end, he wanted to keep it civil. He wanted to fix issues amongst themselves. The wife decided she wanted to get a lawyer. Long story short, I mean, he wound up with half of her retirement and she's paying child support to him now.
So he ended up with half her retirement.
Yes.
And paying child support.
Yes.
Yeah. But with no lawyer.
No lawyer.
With no lawyer. All right. So as you guys can hear, it's possible. It's possible, damn it. Okay. That's interesting. So I guess it's 50-50, right?
Yes.
It's 50-50, right? And then you are a vampire as myself, right? You're how old?
Oh man, I'm 46.
46, right?
Yeah.
But just so everybody that's not seen this, he's 46, Lex 32. That'd be a fair guess, you know. And I could relate to that because I'm in my mid 30s as well, and I actually all the time, actually literally today I was told, oh, I thought you were like 22 years old. I said thank you, and I think the secret for me is drinking water. What do you feel?
How do I feel?
No. What do you feel is the secret to staying young?
Oh, you know what? Honestly, I think with our profession, I think it's helped me out. You know, believe it or not, it's a stressful situation that we both experienced, right? We have different experiences, but honestly, I don't know. I feel like that's helped me out, stay young, and it keeps me active. And it doesn't give me an opportunity to think about my age, you know? I just focus on what I have to do as a father and as a husband and, you know, my responsibilities. And I really don't have time to think about my age. So yeah, I have stressful moments just like everybody else, but I try to take care of myself the best that I can. And I guess I've been doing good.
Yeah, no, but see, yeah, you get you said the Indian blood, right?
Exactly.
The Indian blood, you know, but that's good. And then we're talking earlier about how I said for me, seeing you and other people like you is like, nah, like that means I got to keep going, right? Because like if this 40-some-year-old is keeping up, I'm like, nah, I'm doing something wrong, right? But then you also mentioned that part of this job, right? We have to pay attention to the young ones, and we don't want them to catch up and believe that there's something they're not, right? Because I'm in the middle, right? I'm not quite you yet, but I'm not down there either. So I know like the privates, they come in with their hard heads and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm hard, and they're like, nah, we still gotta show them, right? We gotta show them that we're built better, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Like I told you when we first met, brother, I'm very happy to meet you, and I'll tell you that again. And I told you the story about my good friend Aviles, you know, rest in peace. Just found out about, you know, he passed away too with COVID. And honestly, man, I'm not a big faith person. I'm not a big religious individual, but I do believe in God, right, in a higher power. And I believe that he puts us in situations. I feel like he puts us where he leads us, right? And we'll meet people that we're supposed to meet in life. And I believe that I'm talking to him through you, because you're so much like him. You're always positive. I mean, we've only met, well, like it's been like not even a week, right?
Nah, not even a week.
Not even a week, but it's like me reliving those moments, you know, when I was stationed in the East Coast with him, you know, and you're so much alike him, you know, and I feel like, you know, God made this possible because you remember when I reached out to you, I never talked to you before, and you were in your office, and I talked to you, and then when we get here, I was gonna text you, and all of a sudden your name popped up, and it's like, holy crap, we've talked before.
Yeah.
So that was a trip, right?
Yeah. The world is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did get to conversation because I got put in my position very, very, very randomly, and they just kind of said, hey, you're in charge of getting all these people together and putting them in this place. But that's how we talked in the past, and he was actually supposed to join his team earlier, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're supposed to go with the other Vegas people, or not Vegas people, Nevada people, right?
Correct.
And ended up joining us at the same time that I got here through the school that I needed to finish. So it works out. It works out. You know what I mean? But it's good because the chances of us meeting or having long form conversation would have not happened if it wasn't for that situation.
Right.
You know, but on the topic that you mentioned when you were stationed on the East Coast, you also were stationed in Korea.
Yes, I was.
You got some good Korea stories?
I do actually. You know, I was a brand new private, 18 years old. That was my first duty station, and I got there July timeframe, and the monsoon season had just started and stuff. And me being fresh out of high school and stuff, you just hear about the stories about how it rains in Asia and all that stuff and whatnot. And
so, for us ignorant people, what is monsoon?
It's when it constantly rains for like months and days.
Okay.
So it's nonstop, right? And
okay.
But let me backtrack a little bit. So, you know, as you guys know, North Korea, South Korea don't get along, right? So with my luck, I get shipped out with 9 others of my counterparts out to Korea. I was right at the DMC, and everybody else stayed down south, you know. So like I say, God puts us where He needs us, right?
So at the border, or
Yeah, I was right at the border, so I get to see my enemies every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, like, what was it, like tensions at the time, or it was just kind of like whatever? I don't know.
So it's like now, right? It's you have your good moments and your bad moments. So when I said let me backtrack a little bit, so my first day there, I hadn't even in process, so nobody really knew who I was, and nobody really was tracking me besides my my platoon sergeant at the time, and the sirens go off. So everybody starts manning their post, and here I am, 18 years old, straight out of AIT. Wondering what the hell's going on, right? I don't have a weapon. I don't have a gas mask, because, North Korea is known for using chemical warfare and stuff. So,
And what year was this?
this is back in 97. Yes, I'm an old timer, but I'm an old timer. But that was a big eye opener for me, right?
Okay.
So my squad leader at the time, he takes me and grabs my bags and throws them in the building, and he tells me to follow him. And we sit in a vehicle for the next 24 hours.
Okay.
No food, no water, and just waiting for orders and see what we're gonna do. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, if somebody's actually start shooting, what am I gonna shoot back with? I have nothing.
Yeah. So this was like day one?
Day one.
Oh, okay.
Day one. So, like I said, it was a big eye opener for me. And from there, that moment actually, it made me grow a lot, and it started defining my career and me as a person, right? As an individual, because that's one of the big major experiences in my life growing up,
Yeah.
Yeah. But Korea was fun. I didn't get to do much of anything because we constantly trained. I'd say 20 to 24 days out of the month, we were in the field, snow or rain, frozen grounds. It didn't matter. But it was good though. Like I said, I learned a lot, and it made me save a lot of money though. It was good.
So back then, E1 pay was different though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So,
and and another thing that I think helped me save money too is that I lost my debit card, and my bank wouldn't ship me one over there, right? So luckily for me, I have my checkbook still. So
yeah,
I would just every month I would write me a $200 check, and I cash it out. And because I used to hear horror stories that when you clear post or you try to clear the country, and if you owed money, you weren't allowed to come back. So I didn't want to be a holdover.
Yeah.
So
I heard a lot of people don't want to be a holdover over there.
Yeah. So it's a lot of good experience, and
Okay.
Not in the fun aspect, but I mean, like I said, I learned a lot, and I think my best time there was when I actually was clearing to come back. They gave me a whole month by myself, and I actually did have to go down south because some of the officers were down there, get to ride the train. And it's funny how none of the North Koreans will look at you. They all put their heads down. I never figured that one out.
The North Korean or South Korean?
Sorry, the South Koreans.
The South Koreans.
Yeah, the South Koreans. They put their heads down, and
okay.
Yeah, I never figured that out, and obviously I couldn't speak to them because language barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed my time there.
Okay. And then I remember you mentioned something about your fingers not coming back, something like that.
Yeah, my whole feeling. So so one of my first was the winter hit. Me being a brand new private, we get the shitty. We get the shitty shifts and stuff, so I was just doing as I told, and back then they would issue us some cold weather gear supposedly, but it really didn't work for crap. And they gave me the 2 to 4 in the morning shift, and I remember that morning or that the night the temperature dropped to negative 15 degrees, and oh man. Man, I mean, being from California, being raised in California, I never experienced that kind of weather, right? So talking about a shocker. So yeah, I mean, I sucked it and drove on, like they say, but I feel like I think I got partial frostbite because now when the temperature drops down to the 50s or lower, I start getting a burning sensation on my toes and my fingertips. So,
oh shit.
Yeah.
Let me guess, you never told the VA.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to tell the VA, bro.
But I never went to sick call.
No,
because Back then, it was just
Hey, well, you're about to go somewhere. Maybe you can somehow tie it into this,
true.
some way, somehow. You know what I mean? But one thing that I did catch is I don't think a lot of people in today's world understand how difficult the military used to be. Right? I know we talk about it enough, right? And it's changed, and it brings me back to a story. So kind of like we BS around, right? I go to the gym, right? And in the gym, there's saunas, and the one that I go back home is it's a UFC gym, right? It's a bunch of it's just random people, right? Random civilians. It's not specifically MMA. It's just it's a gym, right? And one thing that I noticed, it was the same group of us going to the sauna every time after the workout. And they would always have conversations. They just random conversations and everything, same group and everything, but they all had something interesting to say, right? So when I left from there to Florida to do my school, there was a sauna there, and I kind of liked that culture. I don't know, you're making weird faces, but I like that culture, right? So in the sauna, I started having conversations with the people there, and then we started forming our own little conversation crew, right?
Okay.
And there was this old timer, like way past both of us, right? He was talking about how the military has changed, and I kind of made the comment, which I think I made to you before, is like the military has changed more in the past 5 years than it has in the past and maybe this line is outdated, because for me 5 years is still 2010, but it's not, right? It's been a long time, right?
Right.
And he said, hey, can you tell me one positive thing that has changed? And me being a senior leader, I was just like, fuck. He took me for a loop. Right?
Caught you off guard, right?
Yeah, he caught me off guard. He threw me for a loop because, he's a civilian. He could say and do whatever he wants. But me, I'm a senior leader. How can I properly lead when I can't even answer a simple question like that? It's a very simple question. We should be able to, if we're doing the right impacts in our organization, we should be able to answer that question. And I was just like, damn, I could not come up with something at the time, right? So how do you feel things have been changing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know where I stand, right? I mean, and some certain things I am neutral, and certain things I agree and disagree.
Okay.
For me, yeah, I could say 2010. That's when I started noticing the change, right? But sometimes I just feel that people that actually make the decisions and the shot calling, right? I feel like most of them never really actually done it themselves. They never really served, right? And and there's, like I said, I go back to social media because I'm not a big social media person, but the military is military, right? Regardless, I mean, everybody should know what they're enlisting for.
What do you feel is what they're enlisting for?
I feel like they're enlisting for benefits.
Okay. Is because you said everybody should know what they're enlisting for. So do you feel that people should be enlisting for benefits, or what do you mean?
No, it's not a bad thing, right? We all enlist for different reasons, but I mean, some of them, they want to just benefit from enlisting, but they really don't want to do their job, right?
Oh, okay.
So they just want to take advantage of the system, and that's one thing that's really irked me, because like I told you when we started having conversations, for me, the military is a military. We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be some of the best army out there, right? And
we should be the best army.
We should be, right? Yeah, but unfortunately now, like when I started, I used to have to earn everything. I had to earn everything. I didn't have no privileges. I had nothing. I had to earn them, and now everything's handed out like candy, right?
Yeah.
And if that don't happen, it's people are very quick to complain and bring it up higher, and it becomes a big mess, right? As you know. And I think that's the shift, right? I mean, everybody deserves a trophy kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it was never like that, and it shouldn't be that way. You have to earn everything. At least that's my perspective of things, and that's how I see it. And I think that's when the military started shifting, right? Because everything was handed to them. When boot camp became soft, they weren't allowed to. The drill sergeants weren't allowed to yell. They weren't allowed to perform their job like they used to. So, I mean, what do they expect, right?
I don't know if you were aware, right? But they talked about it that they actually got rid of the shark attack, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that they do now. Maybe we'll get one of the youngin ones here to tell us. But yeah, so they got rid of shark attack. Their tones definitely have gone down. It did come from people abusing their power, right? That did happen, right? Things did happen like that, but it's hard to disagree, right? It's really hard to disagree with where the military is at, because I also grew up during the. I actually was more like a transition from the old to the new, call it guard, new to old military, whatever. So I was in the transition phase, and I was like, okay, I see some okay stuff, but some stuff I was like, for me, even when I joined, I thought the military was one of the easiest things to do, because you do what you're told and you get paid, you get fed, and you get benefits. So like, to me, this is the easiest thing ever. All you have to do is say, like, especially as a lower enlisted, right? All thing you have to do is say yes, right? Yes, Sergeant, whatever, moving, HUA, cool, we're done, right? Now there's a lot of back and forth conversation, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Sometimes I see even a E3 talking back to like an E9, and I'm just like, hey, calm down there, buddy. You know, do you feel we could still do our job effective?
Honestly, to a certain extent, you know, but because like I mentioned earlier, or, you know, in this conversation, you know, like now if you look at somebody, a lowered enlisted wrong, what do they try to do, right?
You tell me what they try to do.
Well, I mean, they try to open up a case because you're looking them improperly or looking them the wrong way, so it's disrespectful, and I feel like that gives them the right to disrespect you, even though you're a senior NCO, right? And back in my time, that was never allowed, you know? I think a lot of the senior leadership, it's at fault too, because it's become nonchalant, right? They let everything slide. Nobody really wants to correct the individual no more, because they just want to be right, morally right, and stuff. And I think that's affected. It's affected a lot in a lot of aspects of our career, you know.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what happened. You were probably there before me, because I was one of the last ones to get to that formation. But I guess somebody was vaping or something in the formation. I just walked up, or maybe you were already in because you're part of the old timers crew. But I was walking up to the formation, the second one, right? Once they got on the bus and they went forward and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I was the last one to part of the last group, and I walked up. One of the cadre was screaming at the whole formation. I hadn't made it there yet, about them about to deploy and learning their military bearing, yada yada yada. And I was like, "What's going on?" And when I walked up, I asked somebody, like, what the hell just happened? Like, oh, somebody said it, a vape information. I'm like, what is wrong with them? What you know? Like,
that's what I'm telling you though. Like, you know, everybody joins. We all join for different reasons, you know. And I mean, from E-Fussy to E9 and above, I mean, regulations are regulations, right? And you're supposed to act accordingly at all times, right? Like I told you earlier, I tell my soldiers, new and old, like there's a place and time for everything.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like I told you, like, you know, like the longer we've been here in this situation where we're at now, like when we first got here, they put out a uniform as a standard, and we were going to keep that standard. But now the more and more this is drawing down, is like, you know, people don't give a F. You know, they want to do their own thing. And this is what I tell you, back then, if you were that individual, oh man, you were in for it, man. You know, not just from your squad leader, your platoon sergeant, but from everybody else,
from your peers. Yeah, because we, I mean, I'm sure you were too, but we believed in mass punishment. And I think it worked. I think mass punishment worked. Yeah, sometimes it did suck, because like, wait, why am I getting in trouble for something I did not do? But that also helped the unit get unified. Help the unit get unified and help everybody get to one standard, so we can all play ball. You know what I mean? And we can all play ball equally. I think that a lot of people neglect that part of mass punishment. Everybody saw it as a hazing type situation, but realistically, it's like, nah. Like, most of the time, if you suffer together, you grow together, you develop together, and you train better.
Yes,
you know, because most of the time, why do people, when they go overseas or when they go through something difficult, they become closer, right? They just get that bond.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we should bring mass punishment back. That's just my opinion.
And I agree with you. You know, like, yeah, you're younger than me, but you've had some experiences that I, you know, even at my age and the stage of my career, I haven't experienced much of what you've gone through, right? And I think that's why we love having these conversations, because whether you're younger than me or even if you were my age, I learn from you, right? Mm-hmm. I learn from you, and that's why I love talking to people, and that's why I keep telling you I'm glad that I met you. I think you're a perfect blend of new and old school, right? But you lean more towards the old school, you know?
A little bit, yeah.
So
except for I don't shave.
Yeah, that's a different conversation there. That's a different conversation. But yeah, I think that's why we get along well, you know?
Yeah.
You're a good mixture, you know, of old and new. See, back then, and like you were saying, if somebody was getting punished, people would take it as hazing. When I enlisted, that was just the norm.
Yeah.
There was no hazing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it was normal. And that's what I say. It's crazy, right? Sometimes when I talk to the new soldiers, I always tell them, like, be the soldiers that the Japanese think you are. Right, you know how they say how that we're portrayed in movies as like hard people and everything. Like be them, like be those individuals that the enemy thinks that you are. So we can still hold the upper edge.
Yeah,
make them double think. You know, so sometimes just presentation is going to be the key if the fight even happens. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that, right? They talk about the soft targets and hard targets, right? Like whenever I walk around, I'm the smallest dude around most of the time, but I have a serious face and everything, so I do not look like someone that you want to just poke at. Right. And same concept from a bigger scale is, I mean, I have my own biases towards fat people, right? Fat people, and I know. And so that's what I'm saying. But if you see a little chubby bunny coming at you, it's like, come on, man. Like I'm gonna run 20 feet and you're gonna get tired.
But is it biased, or is it because he's not upholding the standard?
Well, I mean, my standard's pretty high, but I get it. Some are not even, the ones I'm talking about are the ones that are not even adhering to the Army standards. So yeah.
That's what I mean, though. Like, you know, like we're soldiers, right? We're supposed to be fit.
We're supposed to.
So
both physically and mentally, yeah.
Just because, you know, that's what the military's really become, you know?
Well, the military hasn't become that, but it goes back to that topic of what people are just letting things slide because we're like you said, I was even talking to, I'm not gonna say who it was, right? But he's a colonel, you know. But he was saying, like, man, they've from the NCO Corps, they not just taking your balls, they took your nails, they took your teeth, like,
everything.
You know, we're supposed to be the backbone of the army, like, and because he was prior enlisted too. I think he was prior enlisted for like 10, 11 years, something like that he mentioned. He's like, it's like, man, like, yes, you guys are the backbone of the army, but it's kind of, you know, we're starting to hunch over a little bit. And I was like, sir, I promise you, I'm trying to be part of the solution, not the problem. But I understand what he's saying. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. It's the whole thing we're talking about now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not wrong. But the question is, I'm not about just talking about problems. What do you feel that we can do to fix it? What steps can we take? Because I will tell you from my perspective, I talk to the young soldiers. Mm-hmm. Like there's a young corporal here. He looks pretty high speed, but he's a young dude, and I talked to him about it, you know, and he says, like, yeah, I wish the military was harder. And he's young, you know, he's a young kid, and I feel a lot of people feel the same way.
Well, yeah, you know, when I mentioned the new generation and stuff like that, you know, some of them obviously fall through the cracks, right? Not everybody's the same.
Correct.
So, like, for example, that corporal you just talked to, he's one of them, right?
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, the majority are the ones that are everybody deserves a trophy kind of thing, right? You asked me what could we do to fix it or go back in time. Honestly, I don't think we could fully do that anymore. Let me ask you another question. I just heard about it, right? I never really confirmed.
What's that?
Was it true that in basic they started handing out those stress cards?
I heard about it too. Mm-hmm. But no one confirmed it. Mm-hmm. I have asked people that came in later. I don't know, maybe we'll find one of the privates down the hall and ask them, hey, did you ever get a stress card? I have not heard of anybody actually confirming it, but I don't know if they're just ashamed too. Like, I would be ashamed if I said, oh, I'm in the best military of the world, but when I get too stressed, I get to put in my yellow flag. You know what I mean? Like, no, estoy cansado. No.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I have not heard about it, so I cannot confirm, but I also won't deny. I don't know. Maybe it was a pilot program, because sometimes those things happen. Believe it or not, there was a pilot program for beards. And hater, right? There was a
neutral.
yeah. There was a pilot program for beards in the Air Force. They tried it in one organization, and they're still doing their analysis behind that. But I know the Space Force seems to actually allow them. You know, in the Space Force is interesting, right? So I spend a lot of time with them lately.
Yeah.
They're interesting because they're building their own culture, different from the Air Force, different from the Army, different from the Marines. They're building their own culture. I don't say it's right. I don't say it's wrong. I don't understand the purpose. I don't know what is required to save the world from space, right? I know what is required to save the world on the ground. Yes, physically fit, mentally prepared, know how to do your basic soldier task, and be able to follow directions, right? But when it comes to fighting the war in space, they might not need all that. They might need somebody in a computer that can work really well. And it's like, okay, how many push-ups can you do? Does that really matter to how you can run this machine or whatever it is, right? So that's where the Space Force is going through a different culture. Like, they don't even, if I'm not mistaken, don't fully quote me, but to my understanding, they're working on not even doing PT. They're going to have a bracelet that monitors your level of physical fitness at all times, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds funny, right? Because the joke is like, oh, what happens when they're hooking up with someone? You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's wrong, but like, yeah, you make a lot of jokes, but your heart goes up, right?
You're right.
Yeah, it's like, why is he doing PT at 3 a.m? You know what I mean? That's the devil's time, right? You can't do that, right? You know, but it's an interesting thing that they're working on, right? I don't believe that we can do it, because I believe at the end of the day, we are the ground forces. But I don't know.
You know, it's funny you bring that up, because it is interesting. I don't know much about Space Force, I ain't gonna lie, but it's interesting, and it's around the same topic. I had the pleasure to talk to this major. I'm not gonna lie, because it was the only time that I met him. It was a one-day thing, or not even a day. It's just a couple minutes, and that was it. I never saw him again, right?
Okay.
And I kind of asked him the same question around this. It was a question I can't even remember, I'll be honest. But he said, train as you fight, right? I mean, they're integrating or they're starting that program because what does that tell you?
Wait.
About the Space Force.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he's like, so that tells you, in my if you ask me, he said, I think there's going to be more cyber wars than actual ground wars. So that's why they're starting this program, right? So it made sense, because they fought, you know, the war in Vietnam, it was in the jungles, right?
Correct.
So we back then, you know, where our soldiers trained, there was a lot of vegetation, so it would emulate the combat zone, right?
Yep.
So the same thing with the Desert Storm and all that stuff. We train in deserts, right? So so it could emulate where we were going, right? So when he told me that, I mean, it made perfect sense, right? And maybe that's why the military is really not pushing physical activities that much no more, right?
So I can tell you the purpose of the Air Force, the Space Force, but I cannot tell you while recording, right? But I do know why, and I'm not going to say that individual's fully wrong, right?
Right.
So those are it, right? But we have guns, we have, we have knives, brass knuckles, everything, right? We have semi-automatic guns, we got automatic guns, right? We got all that.
Yes.
But guess what? We still see fistfights.
Yes.
You know?
That's for sure.
We still see fistfights, right? So we can't completely neglect the ground forces, right? Because at the end of the day, you're gonna do all this and all that, but what do people want? Land, right? And so they're gonna have to either come here, or we're gonna have to go there, and it's gonna get back to the ground.
No, and I agree, and I'm not disagreeing, you know, and you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously the Air Force or the Army, the Marines, we're not going away, you know, we're always going to be there. It's just the point I made that, you know, maybe that's why that program kind of started, you know, the Space Force, you know, obviously they're going to need us, right? Yeah. They're always going to need us.
What was funny is a lot of people laughed because Trump was the one that made it happen, right? A lot of people laugh. I remember seeing people on social media like, "Oh, we're gonna fight aliens and everything," but they first of all, they're ignorant, right? I feel like you should never say anything without like being educated, right?
Yes.
Especially put it online because people are gonna see it and that's gonna go on forever, right? But we know now that other countries are using up there to see us, so that's the point of it. That's a point of it, right?
Yes,
so
definitely.
that's why it's crazy. It just depends on who does what, where the perception becomes of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I ain't gonna lie. When I first heard about it, I didn't make any comments, but I did chuckle a little bit because, like, really, like Space Force.
I don't know if you've seen the movie. Have you seen the movie, The Space Force?
A little bit. I haven't.
Have you seen the show The Office?
Some.
That main guy that makes everything difficult, he's like the main actor of that movie. So you could kind of imagine the type of movie that is, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, especially like more Americanized people, they saw they saw the Space Force. So a lot of people saw that movie and they laughed about it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, wait, it's literally the same name of the movie. So when you get bored, go on YouTube and just kind of get little clips of it, and you'll see why people laughed at it at the beginning. But there's method to the madness, and no one can get something approved like that without multiple people putting insight in it.
Okay.
And notice that was one of the few things that it wasn't really hated on the media. They didn't praise it, but they didn't put it down either.
See, that's why I like to talk to you because you're a smart guy.
I try.
And
I try.
You've talked to a lot of people, and I trust you, and I believe you. You know.
I know how to lie and make it sound good, right? No, it's it's funny. Like I get called a lot of things. I got called a lot of things in life, but I never thought that I'd get to the point where people call me smart, right? So I do appreciate it. And a lot of people have said that in my recent years. But I just every single time that I get an opportunity to learn, I take it. I take it. You know, so not many people can. Some people just kind of get to a cap. They're like, I'm good, I'm comfortable and everything, but I just think success is limitless. So I go wherever I go to learn, you know?
Definitely. And that's what I tell you. Like, I go back to my friend. That's why you remember, remind me a lot about him, right? Because he was always about learning and he shared his knowledge too, just like you. Always positive, upbeat, and it was all about just puro pa adelante, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely, man. And I mean, you could tell. I mean, I'm not. Anybody will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. You know, you're an educated individual. So yeah, man, happy to be here.
Yeah. So we got a good fun question of the evening, right? If you were king for a day, if you were the king for the day, what would you do to change the world, change your organization, whatever you want? You're in charge. One day. No rules.
I think when it came to punishment, it would be equal, regardless of your stature. Everybody would be treated equally to an extent, because
you're talking about like civilian wise, or you're talking about organization wise? What are you talking about?
Both, because you know it's organization wise, it's male, female, same as civilians and whatnot. You know.
Okay.
You know where I stand with that punishment, right? In certain situations, it's not handed out the same, right? So some people get away with murder, and some people get hammered to the max for the same issue, right?
I have no idea.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I would start with that, you know, and it's a good question, man. I mean, there's so much stuff that I could say and do if I were king. I would treat everybody like humans, right? I mean, I could punish anybody at any time and take people's lands at any time if I was in that position, but I would see everybody as equal and to a certain extent. Make sure the organization was strong, smart, good mentors, and some good advisors. And I would start with that, to be honest with you. So, I mean, if you have corruption in your organization, there's really no hope.
No, that's for sure. Well, that's making everybody equal kind of takes me to a little bit of the conversation that we had with what's his name, Lewis? Yeah. When he said, slavery was abolished in he didn't say the year, but I Googled it, right? 2013.
He said 2012, and then
oh, okay, 2013. Yeah, so that was alone, that was crazy.
It tripped us out, right?
That was a crazy thing, right? To think that it was still legal in certain place.
Mm-hmm.
So recent history, I was like, oh man, and he seems like a chill dude, chill about it, everything, you know.
And it's funny because it really threw me for a loop because, like I tell you, I like history and stuff like that. I'm not gonna BS. I didn't know about it. I hadn't heard about it. Just like he said, like nobody. It really never came out in the media. So it really threw me for a loop, man. And it's crazy that thing actually still was going on. You know?
That is wild.
Yeah.
And then, so how long a break did you take? You had a break in
A
service?
service break, yeah. You know what? It was like 6.5 years. 6.5 years, yeah. So,
And you just weren't done, or?
no, man, like I told you, I don't know if I told you personally, but I told one of the individuals that's here with us, we were having a conversation. And honestly, ever since when I met and saw my first recruiter, it was my sophomore year in high school. And I just, right then and there, man, my light bulb went off. And like, you know what, that's what I want to be. And to backtrack a little bit, it's kind of in my family history in Mexico. One of my great-grandfathers, he actually served in the revolution, in Mexico on my mother's side. And I think it's in my blood,
Yeah.
So when I got out, I got out for my reasons. Do I regret it? No, I don't regret it, because like I told you earlier, things happen for a reason, and when I mentioned to my wife, that I still had that itch and I eventually was going to go back. Of course, she got mad and everything. And at the time, she wasn't supporting my decision, but ultimately, I'm here and I'm still going strong, man. Even though I'm old, I still outshow some of the young bucks,
Oh, definitely. Well, last but not least, what advice would you give to the younger version of you?
Don't take nothing for granted, and live your life to the fullest, because your last breath could be your last one, right? Don't leave anything for tomorrow. If you could do it today, do it. Be happy. Do whatever you do. Just make sure you're happy. We only live once, but don't forget about family, because I'm big on family. And in hard times and good times, they're there in a way or another, and I've had my experiences, good and bad. And I'm just speaking on my behalf and from the heart. Family is a big thing for me, and live your life to the fullest. Don't leave nothing for tomorrow.
Sounds good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Eddie Vargas, and we are out.